Well, tutorial 2 is this week. In-class exercise, we're going to be doing budget. We'll go over your homework after the budget in-class exercise. You will be submitting to the Dropbox after the budget in-class exercise. As I said last week, I covered a little bit too much material in class next week. I'm trying to do this section a little different, where it's kind of flipping things, called the flip classroom technique, where you watch the podcast and discussion outside of class, and then in class, you just do in-class exercise. So I'm not kind of creating a podcast in here that you're having to watch again at home, which is meaningless for most students. So the podcast you'll be watching, we will not cover in class at all, to give us more time to spend time in class exercise, helping you with your homework, yada, yada. So watch a podcast to cover tutorial 2. I will try my best not to do it, okay? Won't make any promises. It's my first time trying it here. So let's go ahead and get right into what we're going to be doing here. I want to cover the homework first. When you go into week 2, into the drop down or the week 2 folder, there is, first of all, let's see if I can minimize this just a little bit so you can see more of my screen. First of all, there's the podcast in YouTube format. You also have the podcast on iTunes U as well. Same podcast is out there already. I go over a little bit more material in the podcast. It's in the book. You will learn a couple tricks tonight that are not in the text for tutorial 2 as well during your exercise. So watch that outside of class. This week you're going to be covering Case 1 assignment, EX104, and 2 quizzes this week for quiz 1 and 2, tutorial 1 and tutorial 2. Remember, on the quizzes you have up to 3 chances to take the quiz. You get the highest score out of the 3. Those are automatically graded. If by chance at the end of however many you've taken, the percentage looks weird, don't worry about it. You're going to get in the grade book the highest grade. Make sense? So if you get like a 70, an 80, and a 95, 95 is what will end up being in your grade book. So sometimes as you're taking those quizzes in the percentage part in your grade book, it might show something funky like 67 or something. Don't worry about that. Straight grade is all you need to worry about, points. Now I did add, you might have, and I did email everybody your grade that I did grade up to, I believe, yesterday, and I will catch up with if you've turned anything after that. There is in this course and all my other courses now a grade tab. In the grades tab, you can actually click on that tab and it'll bring up your grades as they're graded. The other way you can access your grades is from the course menu, My Grades. You can do that as well. All right? So I just want to highlight that just so you know. I try to grade it as quick as possible. I know some of you get this work in pretty early, and you want to know what the grade is. You want to get your grade updated. So I'm trying my best to speed that up. So podcast outside of class. I'll try my best. I won't make any promises. Okay? Not to cover everything or some things in the podcast. I'll try my best. And the whole thought is not to cover things in class, and definitely for you guys to watch a podcast, go over it yourself outside of class. Like this podcast here, I believe I've had it out there since, I don't know, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. I will email you when the podcast is posted for the following week, so you can kind of look ahead if you want to. So let's go over the take home. It's the week 2 case 1 due October 11th at midnight. It's the Frosty, this is a needed file, and then this is a solution file. And again, it's on page EX104. Here's what the Frosty original file should look like on the overhead. You're going to have just some data in there. You got Frostyware 2009 sales report. You've got a documentation tab, a sales or a glove sales tab. If by chance these tabs down here you don't see on your computer, what you might have done or might be happening on your computer is, like I just did here, you're not going to be able to see it. You can click the little expand or maximize button on the workbook, and it'll bring up those tabs. If by chance they disappear, they don't seem to be there. They are there. It's just that screen might have minimized or something while you opened it up. Another note, I mentioned this last week, notice how this beginning document says read only. Anybody remember what I need to do to make it write access? Just save it, right? So if I go ahead and save this, it'll prompt me to save it to a location. I'll put it on desktop, and now I can begin editing that in real time. So this has a documentation tab, a glove sales tab. That's what the beginning document looks like. This tutorial is going over formatting, and that's what the end result should look like here. Documentation tab, a little color to it. You're doing background color to this tab on documentation. On this one, you're adding in color as well as pivoting cells, and then also adding conditional formatting for data bars. And that's about it. Okay? So those two documents are already there for you for the homework. After we do our exercise tonight, my thought is this. I'm hoping this works. We'll do the in-class exercise, which shouldn't take too long. After you guys submit the in-class exercise, you can hang back if you need help with homework, and I'm going to be here and help you. Now, some of you might not need help, and you can just leave and go and watch a podcast and do it on your own. But if you need help, the thought is to stay here to help you as needed. Some of you I know don't have a computer at home, or you might not have office at home. It's a great time to utilize class time to kick it out and to get it done. And then you can actually spend more time on learning more about Excel, possibly adding new bells and whistles, going over stuff in tutorial you didn't have time to go over, or you felt maybe were rushed or something. So that's the whole thought process behind the way we're doing things. So, any questions on homework? Okay, next thing is in week 2, boop, there is a folder called InClass Exercise. Now, the InClass Exercise, even though it's a Dropbox, will not have a grade in your grade book. It's just for me to get your file, to look at it, okay? Just so you know, it's not going to show up on your grade book. So InClass Exercise has a My Budget file, and it says download a file, which I've not uploaded yet. Download the file and save it as to your desktop, first initial last name, create your budget, and then upload it. So let me see here. Boom, boom, boom. Let me edit this real quick so I can get that file in there. For some reason, it did not save for me. That's okay. I've got it on my desktop. Okay, you'll have to do a little refresh on your browser. So if you'll click on that in-class exercise folder again, you should now see a mybudget.xlsx underneath number 1. Yay or nay? You guys see that? If you click on that, you should then be able to, it'll prompt you to download it. You want to save it, click the Save File button, and save it to your desktop if you would. And again, when this opens up, it's going to be a protected mode, I believe, by default. Click Enable if it asks you to do that. And this is what it should look like. So let me walk around to make sure everybody has this on your screen. It should have 3 tabs. The workbook should have 3 tabs once it's opened up. As soon as you open it up, if you could do me a favor and click on the Office button and go to File, Save As, and rename the file as first initial last name onto your desktop before we get started. Okay, how many here has to pay bills every month? Anybody? Okay, well, this exercise hopefully will help you learn some things on Excel, but also, like I told you last week, students have used this to actually use it for their budget. And you can modify it, tweak it, whatever you want to do. As I said earlier, I have added on purpose a few bells and whistles that are not in the tutorial, but I know some of you like that. You like the little challenge, a little extra stuff that maybe the text doesn't show you. So I like to throw that in. You'll note I put a note here on the first tab called Household that says there is a list on this worksheet, and then there's also a hidden tab on this workbook. Okay, so there's an actual hidden list, or it is a list on this worksheet itself, and then there's a hidden tab on the workbook. Now, in the text, and I think we mentioned it last week a little bit on the intro, does anybody remember the purpose for hiding data on, say, columns or rows on a worksheet? Anybody remember the reason for that? Yeah, correct. So other people don't need to see it. So in this case tonight, what you're going to see in just a second, there is a hidden tab in here that actually has all the state abbreviations, all 50 state abbreviations that were used for a list on this worksheet you see here in front of you, the first one, that has to put in your name, city, state, zip. So hiding data, hiding rows, columns, in this case a tab, is used a lot in Excel, and those hidden information can be lists, it can be other data that drives output on screens, calculations that drive output, things of that nature, okay, that end users do not need to see and really could care less to see. It would make the worksheet or workbook more cumbersome and more cluttered, okay? So let's go ahead and put in your information there, name, city. When you get to the state, there should be a drop down when you put your mouse in the state cell. There should be a drop down to the right. Go ahead and select the state and then put your zip in. And we'll talk about how this was created, how the drop down was created, and we'll have you actually play with that. And in Excel, let's go and do a Control S after you fill that out. I use drop downs a lot and lists a lot for populating cells for such things as this. Forms, online forms, where you want input to be exactly what you want it to be. Now, if you look on the overhead, if I'm going to this field, I have IL in here, and just type in some gobbledygook, and then try to go to the next cell, notice it says here, this value that I entered is not valid. It says here that a user has restricted the values that can be entered into this cell. I can retry, cancel, or help. If I hit retry and say I type in IL, even though it's lowercase, go to the next, it accepts that because it's within the uppercase, lowercase really doesn't matter. I didn't enforce that. So it does input validation or validate input, which is sometimes needed within Excel by using a list. Okay, so I've got input validation on this one. So let me show you here real quick before we get to the actual budget how I did this. Anybody want to know how this happens, how this works? First thing you've got to do is go down here to any one of the tabs, doesn't matter which one, right click on any tab and select unhide. You should get a pop-up that says states. Does everybody see that? When you see the states pop up, it's the only hidden tab, go ahead and click OK. Now you should have a states tab show up with all 50 states in the A column. All right? Now, how this works is, I'm going to go ahead and show you. I want you to go ahead and select A1 and go all the way down to A50. A1 to A50, which is all 50 states. Everybody got that? A1 through A50. Then I want you to go to the Formulas tab, and there's a define names area. It should have one called define names, using formula, create from selection, and name manager. Everybody see that? Click on the name manager for me, and you're going to see a couple names in here. One is a print area name that I actually put on that third tab, or the third tab, my budget for print area. The next one is states. I want you to click on the states name, if you would. Click on that row there, highlight it, and then click delete. I want to delete this so you guys can redo what I just did earlier. You're going to delete it. Are you sure you want to delete it? Okay. And then click close. I need to run through that again. Okay. Name manager, click on, and I'm actually in the formulas tab. Formulas tab, name manager. Click on the name that says states, and then click the delete button. And then click OK to actually delete it, the prompt to delete it. Everybody got that? Anybody need help getting there? Help your neighbor get there so everybody can be on the same page here. Is what supposed to be gone? No, states should not be gone. You're still highlighted. Everybody got that? And then close out the dialog. Now, we still have the A1 through A50 highlighted. Now what we're going to do is go into the define names area. Click on the define name area. And where it says name, by default what it's going to name it is the very top list. We want to change it to states. Question? How'd I get what? I just select column A1 all the way down to A50. Just select them with your mouse. Oh, how do you unhide it? Right-click on the tab and unhide. And there's only one in there to unhide. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. You see it? And then click on the one that's in there and unhide it. Okay. Did you go in and do the define thing already? Yeah, I did that. Okay. All right. Anybody else need help getting to where we're at? Okay. So you've got A1 through A50. You've clicked on the define names, and you're going to update the name from AL to states. So change it from AL to just type in states, just like mine on the overhead. Caps S, lowercase, everything else. Whatever it says, replace it with states. Okay? Anybody have a, now it should say on the refers to, it should now say equals states A1 through A50. It'll have a $sign before the A and before the 1, before the A and before the 50. It'll also have an exclamation point in there as well. But just note A1, A50. Everybody see that? Okay. If you have that, the scope should be workbook. Name is states, scope is workbook, and refers to should look like mine on the overhead. Okay, then click OK. Everybody got that? Now we're going to go back to the household tab. We're going to click on the B4 cell, go to the data tab, and then there's a data tools area that I'm pointing to on the overhead. In the data tools area, I want you to click on the drop down where it says data validation and select data validation. And it should look like mine. It's already filled in. Okay? It should have allow list. If you go and click on that drop down, you select list is what you should select. It's already selected for you. The source, you just type in equals states, which is already done for you as well, which is a name. It recognizes the name states because we typed that in earlier. And then click OK. Now you should have the drop down available to you to use. One last thing before we go on into the actual workbook and to your budget. I want you to right-click on that States tab. Right-click on that States tab and select Hide. And now you're back to where you were before. Now let me walk around and make sure everybody has that before we go on to the third tab here that says My Budget Secured. I think I told you last week, there are instances where you might need to secure data or input from your spreadsheet, okay? So people won't be able to modify it, delete it. You want to be able to view it, but not to modify or delete it. Can anybody think of instances where you would not want users to modify or delete data on a worksheet? Anybody? Just think of your own work experience, home experience. Static numbers, important numbers, budgeted numbers. In this case, forecasted sales, possibly for a company where you have, it's the bread and butter of sales to have their commission, and you don't want anybody messing with commission percentage, otherwise you're out the door. I've seen it. Okay? So you lock it, you password protect it. So we've already done that. I'm going to show you how I did that, which is the second thing I'm going to show you tonight of things that's not in the text yet. How to secure things within a workbook environment. So go ahead and click on the My Budget. It says Secured. This is what yours is going to end up looking like when you're done. Maybe a little different colors and all that good stuff. But what I'd like you to do before we go further is, let's go into any one of the cells and try to make a change. Click on the cell and try to make a change. It doesn't matter where. As soon as you start clicking on a cell and start typing, it should say this cell or chart you're trying to change is protected and therefore read only. To modify a protected cell or chart, it tells you what to do. First, remove the protection using the unprotect sheet command that's in the Review tab in the Changes group, which we'll go in a second. You may be prompted for a password. In this case, you will be prompted for a password. Go ahead and click OK on that prompt. If it's not doing it, I'll come around and help you. You have to double click on a cell and start typing something. There it is. Go ahead and click OK. Now I want you to do what it tells you to do without me going around. If you don't remember what it told you to do, double click on a cell and type in and read that message. Read that message and do what it tells you to do. And I'm going to type in the very difficult password that I put in. I'm going to put it up there on the board and see if you can unlock that. Now, as soon as you unlock it, you should then be able to go in and begin to modify numbers, text, properties, formulas, whatever it is you want to do. Everybody get that? Anybody need help getting that? Nope, you're going to go to the Review tab. Well, go ahead and double click on the cell first. Try to change something. Now, what's it tell you to do? Go to the Review tab and Changes group and remove protection. You have to click OK first. See where it says there you go. Unprotect it. It's already protected right now. You want to unprotect it. The one to the left. Right there, unprotect it. Type in the hard password. Nope, it's 1, 2, 3. And then click OK, and then you should be able to edit information here. Just double click here and type in whatever. There you go, you're good. Okay, now let me show you how I did this. It's pretty simple how this is done. Right click on that My Budget Secured tab for me, and I want you to select, I'm going to unprotect mine, because mine says unprotect, okay. Right click, and then you want to go into Protect Sheet, And let's look at this before we do anything. It says here, it's going to protect the worksheet and contents of locked cells. The great thing about this, it's only protecting the worksheet, not the workbook. You could have multiple worksheets, remember, in a workbook. Protect one tab. It might be sales commissions that's locked in by your CEO, never to be touched by anybody but the CEO. In fact, he might be the one that puts a password in. I've seen that happen when I've worked with CEOs or the CIO. They put the password in. They're in charge of it. If you've ever known a controller, is what they're called in firms, you don't want to mess with controllers. They're over the money, and you got to keep them happy. Okay? Very analytical, very, as their title goes, controlling. Okay? But they're the ones that keep the budget tight, keep the company. A good controller is worth every bit of money they make and probably more, probably double that, if they're really doing their job with budgeting and what the company should buy, how many people they can hire, all that good stuff. Anybody have anyone in your family or a friend that's a controller? Am I right? I mean, those are the people you want definitely on your side. They know what they're doing. A good controller, like I said, is very much worth their pay and probably double usually. They're usually underpaid. So we'll say you're the controller, and you come in here and your password protecting this tab. It says protecting the worksheet. Now, you'll notice here before we type a password in, let's go over some things that we can allow the users to do. By default, it's going to protect, or it's going to allow the user to select a locked and unlocked cell, and that's it. So we could go in and select and copy information, but we can't change information. Okay? So the benefit of that would be, okay, we're going to select budget for this month and create a new tab for budget, or this year and create a new tab for a budget for next year. Okay? By copying and pasting information. That's fine. Now notice also you can actually give them more information or more control over this area. They can format cells, columns, format rows, insert columns, insert rows, insert hyperlinks, delete columns, delete rows, sort. I have seen this one actually be turned on, the sort one. There's really not much damage you can do with a sort option, allowing users to possibly sort columns or sort by columns. That one's generally not going to hurt much, if anything. Use autofilter, pivot reports, edit objects, edit scenarios. So the only one generally I usually see checked in here besides the default two is the sort one. Generally you can't mess stuff up with that. But I have seen financiers and controllers not want that checked even. Okay? I have seen them to where they don't even want these two checked. They do not want people being able to copy anything. But I try to let them know, they can just do a screenshot of the Excel spreadsheet, done, print it out. I don't care. I don't want to be able to copy it. Okay, that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and put a difficult password in, whatever password you want to put in this time. And generally, I would recommend a password that's difficult. Okay? Password that's difficult is an alphanumeric password, meaning letter, number, symbol, that's 8 or more characters in length. Okay? 8 or more characters in length. Now, does it have to be that? No, I'm just saying that's a normal, secure password. In fact, a lot of banks are asking for that type of scenario within a password today. An alphanumeric, maybe not symbol, but definitely alphanumeric. Okay? If you have the symbol in there, it even adds more security to that. There are programs out there, by the way, that do allow to read an Excel or Office or whatever document you're protecting and to hack that password. And so if it's an easy password, it's going to be able to hack it very easy, very fast. But if it's a more complex password, like alphanumeric, 8 or more characters, it's a little bit more difficult. Now, I teach network security here. The difference is this. A 123 password takes about half a second to crack. An alphanumeric password that has a special character, like a semicolon possibly in there, and a couple numbers and rest characters, letters, could take days or weeks to crack, okay, depending on the length and complexity of it. Make sense? And so, again, What's the problem with what I just said with normal, everyday people that you're working with by telling them they have to use a long, secure, convoluted password? Yeah.
They'll write it down.
You'll write it down. Not only that, but what else are they going to ask in a day or two if they didn't write it down? And guess what? You didn't type the password in. So your only salvation is to find what. The reason I know that there's programs that hack Excel workbooks and worksheets is because I've had to use them for people that lost a password. Okay? So what I generally make it a practice to do is what you mentioned. I don't ever recommend it in any other situation, but in this one I definitely tell them, please, either you write the password down and keep it, or better yet, give me the password and I will keep it and file it away for you. Either one, I don't care. Now, I prefer the first one, where they write it down somewhere and keep it. I don't want that password. Even though, as an admin, you can pretty much get into anything, and they know that, I would rather them have it. Now today they could write it, on a note on their cell phone or in their BlackBerry, whatever. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you could help them store. There's store password programs, which I've helped people use, free ones. So, whatever scenario you want to create, but definitely have something to where there's a backup of that somewhere. And not just for them forgetting, but say that they, I don't know, God forbid, became ill and were in a hospital for days and were in a coma. You'd want to be able to recover that somehow to be able to get into their information. So most CEO controller types have some backup plan, but if they don't, it's good to just ask them, do you have a backup plan for, all your passwords? And does somebody know all this information besides you, how to get into it? So that's something to definitely do. So I'm going to go ahead and put a difficult password in again. No, it does tell you to retype it again once you enter it in. So once you've entered in your password, it'll prompt you to retype that password after you click OK. If you retype the wrong password, it'll say incorrect password. So make sure and type it in the same password as you typed in the first one. Now you've actually secured that worksheet within the workbook environment. And now we're going to look at the actual budget that you're getting ready to create on your own in just a second. So I told you last week, and we're going to do this, you're going to create your budget here, and it's going to end up looking just like this one here. And let's go ahead and look at mine. Let me go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So I've got some header information with date and my name. What I can have you do is basically just we'll look at the data here. I've got my budget. I've got some categories here. Utilities, mortgage, recreation, savings. I've got Jan through December. Total for each budget category and total for each month. Okay? Now, what I did for the total is a sum formula, and I formatted this column only to currency. Sum formula here. Formatted these cells for currency. I'll let the rest of the cells as they are, which is a general format. Okay? So let's go ahead and do this. Go ahead and go over to your InClass Exercise tab, and you're going to begin doing what I just did on this tab. First thing you're going to do is, in the A1 cell, go ahead and type in my budget. Okay? In the B1 cell, well, I'll go ahead and put it in on the overhead, and you can just kind of read it from there. It might be easier for me going cell by cell. So I'll just leave this up on the overhead. Go ahead and type in, as far as input data, exactly what is on the screen. Is that big enough for everybody? I can make it a little bit bigger for you. Let me see if I can make it a tad bit bigger. Yeah, everything just like I have it here, please. Don't worry about formatting yet. Just put numbers in exactly like I have them. Don't worry about this. Do not worry about the formula column. Don't worry about yet. Just worry about this, and the numbers here in the center. Okay? Now, I'm going to see if you remember, we talked about this last week. You can start typing in JAN and do an autofill here. Remember with the series? You can do that. That's going to be the only one you're going to be able to do a series on. So type in everything you see here on the board, on the overhead, except for do not type in the total information, because those are formulas that we'll do in just a second. Or if you already know how to do the formulas for the sum, what we're going to do is I'm going to have you create a sum formula here, autofill, sum formula here, autofill copy. Okay? So I'll leave that there, and you can duplicate that information. Now, what I'd like you to do now is on your A1 cell, I'm going to let you choose the background color, okay? But I want you to have a font size of at least 20. And I'm going to let you also choose the font style. I use the built-in Calibri, the default, and size 20. Make sure it's a size 20 and then choose whatever font style you want. As you select the style, you'll note it actually gives you a preview of that style before you select it. So go ahead and do that real quick. Once you get the font style and size you want, what you're going to do then is you're going to select A1 all the way over to F1, and you're going to do a merge and center. Okay? Merge and center is going to just do that. It's going to merge all of those. It's going to merge that cell across those columns and center that data. So go ahead and do that. If you don't have, okay, now what you're going to do on this one is you're going to have to right-click on H1, right-click on the first row, right-click, insert, insert. Go ahead and do OK. Let me see your mouse. You want to get rid of that. 20. Yep, that needs to be my budget. Okay, it looks like some of you didn't have the my budget in the first row. So let me show you how to do that real quick. If you don't have my budget up there like I did, here's what you want to do. Let me go ahead and copy some information here real quick. Okay, if you look on the overhead real quick, if yours looked like this prior, meaning you didn't have my budget at the top, all you need to do is take your mouse on the first row, hover over it, right-click, insert. It'll insert a row to the top. You'll type in my budget. Then select I selected 20. A1 through F1, center, and merge. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my formatting here just so we can be where you're at. Bless you. Okay. A1. Let me go back or further. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. A1 through F1, select it, and then merge and centers in the alignment area. My mouse is over it right now. Merge and center. Okay. Okay. Everybody's look kind of like mine. Doesn't have to look exactly like mine. Anybody need help getting yours to look like mine? Raise your hand so I can help you. Okay. Okay, you need to get my budget A1 to F1. Nope. Click on A1, drag over to F1. Then lift your mouse up, release it, merge and center. Nope. Cancel. Merge and center. Right there. Yep, click it once. Nope. Click right in the middle where it says merge and center. See where it says merge and center? Yep. You need to make your size 20 instead of 11. Okay, I want to come around and look at your screens to make sure it looks pretty close to mine as far as centering and merging and the data. Okay, great. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to focus on the My Budget, the first row, and I'm going to let you choose a light background fill color for that row. And it's just going to actually technically be the A1 cell. Since we've merged and centered it, how do I know it's the A1 cell? Where can I see it at as A1? In the name box on the upper left, it says A1. Right-click on My Budget, go to Format Cells, Fill tab, and select a lighter color. I'm going to go and select this one right here, and I'll keep that on the board. I'll keep that on the overhead. So you right-click on A1, Format, Cell, Format Cells, go to the Fill tab, and select a lighter background color. If you notice on the overhead, when you select a color, it shows you the preview down here as a sample, what it's going to look like. And why do I want it to be a lighter background color? Why can't it be dark? Because my font's dark. If my font's dark and I have a dark background, you're not going to be able to see the text as well. So, everybody have that. Control S to save. Okay. Next one is row 2, from A1 to F1. Right-click, Format Cells, a different background color, but light as well, a lighter one, not dark. So something that complements it. You don't have to be a color complementing guru, just something that complements it. After every change, make sure and do a Control S to save your work. Okay, everybody have that? Then we're going to do A3 through A15. Same thing. Right-click, Format Cells, lighter background color but different. Okay. Control S to save. And then finally, B3 through F15. Right-click, Format Cell, Cells, lighter background color. I'm going to choose a blue shade here. Now, by the way, you can click this More Colors button, which will give you a more array of colors. It'll give you what the current color is at the bottom and the new color here at the top. Okay, so as you move your mouse around and click here, it'll give you a whole bunch of arrays of color. All right? So we've got our My Budget, we've got our A1, we've got A2 through F2, A3 through A15, B3 through F15. Now we're ready to go ahead and format with currency the correct cells, okay? And it's going to be first off F3 through F14, right-click, format cells. Which tab do I want to go to format cells as far as the content? Anybody know? Numbers. Number, it's on general. Which one do you think I want for currency? Currency. Pretty simple, right? Now, notice here, by default, it gives me 2 decimal places, and this symbol, you can change the symbol to be something besides this. In some countries, it's different, okay, than the dollar symbol. Also, you can change the notation of color to be different from black or red. Some controllers want the numbers to be different colors depending upon where it's at in the spreadsheet, okay, and what that column's for. We'll leave it the default, decimal 2 places, and notice it gives you a sample here. So if it's 1800, it's in that cell, which this one is here, it's going to look like this. If you wanted to dumb down the decimals, if you look on the overhead, I can take it down to 0 decimals, but it still have a currency. I can also change the currency, like I said, from different notations. So if I'm going to, for instance, have a spreadsheet in Danish, it gives me the Danish currency symbol. All right? I'm going to put it back to where it was. So currency, 2 decimal spots, which is generally default, and click OK. We're going to do the same with the B15 through E15, apply currency format. Now, let me show you something on the overhead. Yours might be doing this. Yours possibly could look like this. All this means is the width of the cell is not wide enough to fit the content. How do I correct that easily? What do I do to correct it? Right in between your mouse, double click, boom. Okay? That will widen it automatically to fit the content. So if you see a pound symbol, wait till your mouse turns like this in between in the cells, and it'll widen that accordingly. Control S. Let me walk around and see how you're doing. Yep.
I didn't do an auto fit or anything. I was just following along.
Did you double click in between D and E to see if it auto fits it? Between the D and E. There we go. Yep. Yeah, on text, it's different than numbers. Text won't give you the pound symbols. Text just will push it, you won't complete the sentence or the word. Yeah, he brought up a good point. He had recreation. If you notice on mine, the second row is recreation. His one, I think it cut off the ON or something at the end. The difference is, though, like numbers, how it gave you pound symbols, if it's not long enough or wide enough, the text will just cut it off if it's not wide enough. Okay, good. Good, good. You guys are doing good. Good. Yep, yeah, you're good. All right. Okay, now what we're going to do is talk about the next part here, which is adding a new column, which is not in my over here, but it's something that you will be doing this week. I want you to take your mouse and put it on the A column, right-click, and insert. And I want you to put in here 2011 on the A2 cell. 2011 on the A2 cell. Everybody got that? Now what I want you to do is take and select A2 through A15, and I want you to do a merge and center. Okay, A2 through A15, do a merge and center. It should shove that text all the way down to the bottom, at 2011. Now what we're going to do is go over here to the alignment section, click on the drop down, and we're going to go to vertical text. In fact, I want to do the No, I want to do rotate text up. Rotate text up. I want to center it. I'll do it again. I'll start over and do it again in just a second. Let me get mine here finished up. Let's see how big I want it to be. Boom. So this is what it's going to end up looking like. So let me go back to the very beginning. Okay. This is where I started at. 2011 on A2. Select A2 through A15. Do a merge and center. Then, right here where it says orientation drop down, you're going to select rotate text up. Rotate text up, which should look like this now. Then you're going to click this here, which is middle align. It's going to middle align it to that area. And then change the font size to, let's see here, what do I do? 36. And I'm going to color this whole background to a format cell and color the background of this as well. There we go. Okay. So let me come around and see if you've got that. Gives a little bit more aesthetics and structure to the budget. You can also double click, and I've not done it on mine yet, you can double click in between the A and B column to make the width as small as possible between the A and B, between the A column and the B column. So, you might have to manually do it if you don't like the double clicking. Because the double clicking, if you notice on mine, does this. I want more. I don't want it to be as wide. And you can manually do it sometimes like this. Perfect. Just like that. So if you don't like it on the double click between A and B, you can manually click on between A and B and drag it to the left a little bit to where it looks kind of roughly like mine. Okay, so what you've done basically is created a text reference cell, created a new column, added 2011, did a merge and center, then we did a directional change, and then we also made the font bigger and did a center in the middle of that reference. Okay, you've got to right click on A, insert. You got to put 2011 on the A2. Okay, then you're going to select A2 through A15. Click away and then come back. Click away, then come back. A2 through A15. Merge and center. Right there, merge and center. Click it once. Then the directional, AB, that has a little line going this way. You want to do rotate text up. Okay, then you want to do this one. Yep. Then change it from 11 to like 26. Then right click. You're going to format cells. Change your color to the fill. Click OK. Put your mouse in between the A and B column, click and drag over to the left as far as you can where the 2011 is still in there. A little too far. Go ahead and release it. There you go. Good. Okay, you've still got to click on this here once and then do one right above it. There you go. Then you right click on that, go to fill cells and change the background color. Format cells. Then go to your fill tab and background color. Good, good. Let's do a Control S to save what you've done thus far. I know some of you are still working on it, finishing up here. So it's looking a little bit better color-wise. Could the colors be different? Yes, you could definitely spend a lot of time on colors. And you definitely want to pass it by somebody to say, I like it, don't like it. Change a whole bunch of stuff on here. Okay? So, now, what we're going to talk about here is the next step, which is adding the data bars into the actual cell references, okay? We want data bars for utilities, mortgage, recreation, savings, total, and total. Now the purpose of data bars is to show behind the data range colors. And the key word there is range, data range. You have to be careful what you select when you use the data bars, because if you select the wrong data range, it's going to greatly affect how the bars look. What I mean by that is this. Look on the overhead. Don't you do it. I'll just watch. I'm going to select C3 through C15. Go conditional formatting and select this. Now, if you notice, 3,157 is the largest number in that data range I selected. All the other ones are way, way far underneath that, because that's a total. I wouldn't want to do that. So what I can do is I can re-highlight everything I just did. I can go to conditional formatting, clear rules from selected sheets. They're selected cells. Now be careful, if you do this one, it'll clear the rules from the entire sheet that you've worked on, maybe for a while. So clear from this one. Now, the other way I could have done it is just Control Z, would have done the same thing. But I just want to show you how to do it. So let's everybody do this. I'm going to do the first one for you, and then you're going to do the rest of them on your own. We're going to do data bars from C3 through C14 first. So I go ahead and select C3 through C14. On the right, in the Home tab, conditional formatting, data bars, and then select whatever color you want to in the gradient fill. Gradient fill color, you can select whatever you want to. Make sure it complements that color that you have. Okay? Now you're going to do the same thing with mortgage, recreation, and savings, and the total column. And also the total row. Okay, so go ahead and do that. You've selected the wrong range. If you get itty bitty ones, you've selected the total in there. The bottom total, I want you to use the solid fill. The bottom total only. Okay, say this column here, right? Conditional formatting. You guys don't have the solid fills in 2007. We'll go to more rules. Notice down here at the bottom, I can change the color to whatever I want it to be. Let's see here. I'll change it to gradient, and then go down here to color, more colors. And so you can go in and change your color ranges to whatever. And then once you change your color ranges to whatever, it'll then show up on there. And your guys might look a little different than mine, I think, on that part as well. Let's see. So you can change the colors in there by right-clicking, go to More, and it gives you more options to choose from. Okay, so let's look at what you've done so far. You've got the color ranges that are the data bars. They're conditional. Now, one of the things on the conditional, too, I'll show you on the overhead, is on the conditional for this, you can actually add more conditions to it. If I go to More Rules here, right now, it's set to minimum and maximum, but I can actually change that. I can change it from percent, minimum percent to maximum percent. I can do minimum formula to maximum formula, okay? So a whole bunch of different, by default it's going to be the value though, value to value is what it's going to be, but you can change that. You can also, if you look up here at the top, there's different formats you can go through here. Format cells that contain a value between whatever and whatever. So for instance, in this example, I'm going to format cells that are between, let's see here. Let me see a range here I want to put in here. Let's put 1,500 to 2,000. Put the wrong range here. I don't want that one. I want the values. There it is. Format only values that are above or below the average. So I could do below the average of the selected range. I could do format only unique or duplicate, or use a formula. So a whole bunch of different things you can do in here as far as formatting goes. Formatting can not just be color. You could format font size, font type, font color. Everything you could think of can be conditional, not just background of the color that it's doing now. So a whole bunch of conditional formatting you can do. The other conditional formatting in here, if you click on it, you guys should have the color scales, I believe. The color scales deal with behind the cell itself. Okay? Displays are 2 or 3 color gradient and the shade of color representing the value in the cell. This one's a little bit more confusing. I never use it. Okay? Too much color. Icon sets. This one actually I don't use either. I have seen people actually use the directional ones for, say, stock market type of graph numbers, but I've never used them for just regular charting of numbers on spreadsheets. So what you've done tonight is create a real quick budget. Do a Control S. Next step is we're going to create a header, and then we're done with the My Budget. So to create a header, pretty simple, to the Insert tab, header and footer, and let me scroll over on mine to where you can see it here, where it says click to add header. I want you to type in your first and last name in the middle area. In the left, click on the left text box here in the header, and you're going to put in current date. And then once you've done that, click away, like go and click somewhere else in your workbook and your worksheet to where it shows up now, like mine on the overhead. So again, I went to Insert, Header, Footer, clicked in the middle, right there above My Budget, typed in my first and last name, click on the left, text box or cell reference for the header, current date, click away. If you look on the overhead, I'm just clicking away over here on my worksheet. Now I've got a finished copy to submit to the Dropbox. Okay, let me come around and look at that